afternoon. Right, this afternoon I'm going to read you another Scarecrow story. And it's a really good one if you're thinking of making your very own scarecrow, because that's just what the farmer does in this story. And it's called The Scarecrow Who Didn't Scare by Neil Griffiths. Now, he doesn't look a scary scarecrow at all, does he? Did you manage to find out why farmers have scarecrows? They have them because they don't want all the birds to come along and eat all the little seeds and things that they have growing in their fields. So if there's a person stood out in the fields, the birds will be scared and they won't come. So the farmers make the scarecrows to look like real people stood out there, and they hope that it will scare the birds away and they won't eat their seeds and all their plants will grow. I wonder if they work. This friendly one doesn't look scary at all. Let's have a look. Oh, there he is, look. Stood in a field of corn. That must be summertime. The Scarecrow Who Didn't Scare. Farmer Wallace had been very busy making this year's scarecrow. Oh, so he must make a new one every year. At last, he had found a use for his wedding day suit that no longer fitted him. An old pair of brown boots with holes in the toes he hadn't worn for years. If you have a look there, you can see Farmer Wallace making a frame using some pieces of wood to put his scarecrow up. And there are his old clothes that he's going to use. And some bright green gardening gloves he'd never liked. Mrs. Wallace had also donated one of her sun hats that had been chewed by the dog. The farmer felt sure it would do a good job as he pushed its pole deep into the newly ploughed field. So in that picture, look, none of the seeds have grown yet, have they? And if you look at the tree, what time of year do you think it is? There's no buds, no leaves. Yeah, I think it's winter, isn't it? It's winter time, maybe just coming up to spring. And there goes the scarecrow into the ground. As spring arrived, the scarecrow tried its hardest to keep the birds away from the newly planted seed. But they took no notice and ate and ate and ate until they were all full. Oh no, Farmer's not going to be very happy, is he? Several weeks later, it did all that it could to frighten the rabbits too. But they weren't frightened at all and greedily ate the tender growing shoots. So on this one, look, we can see the leaves are just starting to come on the tree. It's springtime and some of the seeds that were left have grown, but now the rabbits are nibbling them. Can you see that scarecrow making a cross face to try and scare them away? Can you make an angry face? Oh, that's quite scary, isn't it? That might scare me away if I was a rabbit. As summer arrived, it tried to scare the mice from the ripening corn, but they weren't scared either and scampered up the tall golden stalks and nibbled endlessly. So now all the corn is there, and the farmer's going to need to harvest that corn, isn't he? But he won't be able to if the mice eat it all. When the farmer returned in late summer to harvest his field, he could scarcely believe his eyes. All that remained were a few clumps of wheat, hardly worth harvesting at all. Oh no, the farmer's not very happy, is he? Oh, dear me. He was so angry that he pulled the scarecrow from the ground and threw it into the hedge nearby. Oh no, the poor scarecrow. There it lay, sad and alone, throughout the autumn. So we've had spring, we've had summer, and now it's autumn. The winter that followed was very cold indeed. The ground was frozen hard. Icicles hung from the branches and frost covered the hedges for days. The wind blew wildly and the air became colder and colder. One by one, the woodland creatures came out of hiding in search of warmth. They sat shivering beneath the Scarecrow, who was so pleased to see them, as it had been very lonely. Oh, look, so all the creatures are coming to snuggle up to him to find some warmth. It soon forgot how troublesome they had all been and invited them to snuggle up for warmth in its straw stuffing. The birds nestled snugly in its hat. The rabbits climbed into each cosy jacket pocket. And the mice made themselves comfortable in the old brown boots, all pleased to be out of the bitter cold. As spring arrived, the farmer returned to plant new seed and decided to give the Scarecrow one more chance, as he had been too busy to make a new one. In return for the Scarecrow's kindness, the birds ate not one newly planted seed. The rabbits left the green shoots to grow, and the mice did not climb the golden stalks in search of corn. So he just asked them nicely, and because they were friends, they didn't eat any of the farmer's things. As late summer arrived, the farmer was rewarded with a bumper harvest, the best he had ever seen. The farmer smiled proudly at the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow smiled back and was secretly looking forward to winter, when the woodland creatures would return again and keep it company. Oh, and that's the end. Oh, what a lovely story. And what a lovely Scarecrow he was, wasn't he? Being so kind to those creatures, and they were kind to him back in return. Doesn't that show why it's so important for us to be kind to everyone? And if we're kind, then kindness will come back to us too. Now that's given me some good ideas of some things I could include in my Scarecrow too. I'm going to go and get started on it now. Okay, well, Hoil Vower, and I will see you again tomorrow.